Hey, it's that time of the year again. Drill a hole in a tree and get some free maple syrup. Or sap at least. To get the maple syrup, you gotta do a ton of boiling. The ratio of the sap to syrup is about 40-to-1, so it really takes all day boiling it down. But as a change this year, I thought I'd do something easier, and I wanna use the maple sap as my strike and sparge water. Let's get mapley.
Party time, brews. This song ain't no good, but we got nothing to lose.
So the key to doing this is using some good maple sap. I just happen to live in an area that has a bunch of sugar maple trees around. I only have about 5 taps and buckets, so that's what I use this year. Pretty much every year, just after winter, you can tap the trees and get a reasonable amount of maple syrup out of them. You want to tap the trees when the temperatures are freezing overnight and in the pluses during the day, and usually that'll get you somewhere in the range of 2 gallons or 8 to 10 liters of sap a day. 8 to 10 liters of sap per tree isn't too bad. That's usually enough to maybe I could get a small jar or a pint of maple syrup a day if I boiled it down. But that takes a lot of time. And like I said, we're gonna go the easy way, and I'm just gonna take the maple sap and use it as my strike and sparge water. Taking a look online, you can find some sort of reasonable water profiles on what maple sap would be. Obviously, you gotta take this with a grain of salt because it really depends on what kind of groundwater you have, what's in your area, and it could be wildly different, but I kind of just looked at this profile here. And saw that there's a good amount of sugar in there, and it has a lot of the other nutrients that you need in the water, so I decided not to do any extra additions with this and see how it would turn out. Since I had the 5 trees tapped, getting about 8 to 10 liters a day per tree, that was more than enough to get enough sap in one day for making a beer. The beer I decided to go with was kind of a maple wheat beer. I figured they got honey wheat, so why not try maple wheat? The hop I decided to go with was the Galaxy hop and not use too much of it. But in hindsight, that probably wasn't the greatest choice. I only ended up using about an ounce of it or so. I'll show you the recipe in a second. But the Galaxy is a fairly strong hop, and it would overpower probably any sort of maple taste I'm get. Even though everything you read basically says maple syrup's kind of not the best thing to use to put in your beer pre-fermentation because it attenuates out pretty much fully. And it doesn't really leave any flavors. You gotta kind of do those additions at the end. And at the end, we will try to add some maple syrup to just glasses of beer and see what kind of ratio tastes good. And then I may add it to the whole keg. Before I added the grain, I took a quick check of the specific gravity, and I was coming up right around 1.010 for the maple sap. So with that being said, I measured out 3.5 kilograms of pale malt and 1.5 kilograms of wheat malt, giving the standard 5 kilograms of malt. Yeah, I didn't think at the time exactly about the extra gravity that the maple sap had, so we ended up with a fairly strong beer, or we will end up. You'll find out. I may already know. And as standard with most of the wheat beer I do, threw in some rice hulls just because there's no husks on the wheat, and I don't really want to stuck mash. Stuck mashes suck. So I threw the grist into the grain father and let it mash about 75 minutes. The only reason I really did this is because I took a pH reading about halfway through and it was on the high side, so I did add a little bit of lactic acid to bring it back down just under the 5.6 range for pH. Whether or not that would have mattered is up to debate, but that's what I did. So after it settled out, I rinsed the grains with more maple sap, bringing it up to about 30 liters in the grain father. I like to keep it a little bit on the higher side, just because I like to have full fermenters. So I did that, brought it to the boil, and let it go for 60 minutes. And like I said, for the hop additions, I used Galaxy. With the Galaxy, I added 15 grams at the start of the boil, 60 minutes for approximately 23 IBUs, and just with about 10 minutes left in there, I threw in another 15 grams, totaling right around an ounce for 28 IBUs total. This total amount might, like I said earlier, been a little bit on the high side. Didn't quite need that much bitterness. I should have toned it down a bit just so I could possibly taste any maple that came through, even though the books say it won't. 5 minutes left in the boil, threw in a Whirlfloc tablet, and then chilled the wort through the counterflow chiller. Or did I? Yeah, the first round I attached the counterflow chiller, had it ready to go, started pumping the wort, and filled up the all-rounder with some hot wort. It kind of warped it a bit. Not too much, and I was still able to transfer under pressure, or attempt to transfer under pressure at the end. But hot wort, I think it was around 80 degrees or so, probably not the best for the all-rounder. It does not like that. I probably took a few years off of it. So instead of trying to figure out a way to throw another chiller in there or pump it out of the all-rounder, I just dumped it all back in the grain father, stirred up all that nice hop cone that I'd made earlier and really just messed everything up. But luckily, as you can see here, it only took about 10 minutes for everything to kind of settle back down after it was chilled and pumped out. So really, it still cleared up nicely, just not the ideal way. And I definitely have a little bit more protein in the beer than I would have liked. So after that was all settled down, I pitched in my yeast. I used about 13 grams of US 05, so nothing crazy on the lines there. And just before I sealed it up, I threw in what I just bought, a Rapt pill, to see how that works, and I threw in the old ice spindle there too to do a comparison. Hopefully I'll get a video sometime comparing the two and see how they go. But right now I had double metrics for this one. I guess that's a good thing, or it's just a lot of extra stuff in the fermenter to contaminate it. Find out. Okay, it didn't contaminate this, still tastes good. Might be a bit hazy because of all the proteins, but yeah, we'll talk about that later. Now we can talk about the fermentation profile quickly. I'll just go with the Rapt diagram here. As you can see, it started out a little bit high, around the 1057 using the Rapt, and on the way down, it went all the way down to what you can see here. This number varied a little bit, but if you really like to get those precise numbers, the Rapt doesn't seem to dial it in exactly like the hydrometer. But in the end, the fermentation profile shows here nicely. It took about 8 days to attenuate most of the way down, which actually was fairly close to the number I got with the hydrometer, which was a 1012. Anyway, enough of that garbage. Let's get on to the tasting. Okay, welcome back after that no-second break. It's time for the tasting, and I'm just gonna jump right into it. We got the beer, taking a quick look at it. Nice and hazy. It seems to be almost exactly the same color as the maple syrup. This is the boiled down maple syrup. This is the beer, in case you didn't notice what the difference was. And I might as well go in for a taste. Like I said, nice and hazy. You can kind of see my fingers through it-ish, but not really. And it does have a nice color to it. And I'll go in for the aroma. I am a little bit sickish right now, just a hint of the COVID. I do smell it, still kind of beery. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. It's beery. I'm not getting too many tropical notes or anything off the Galaxy hops, but it does smell good, so I might as well give it a taste. So with that, the first taste I'm getting out of there is the bitterness. It's actually quite surprising how bitter it is, considering I only used about half an ounce or 15 grams of the Galaxy at the start of the boil. But it does taste like a pretty good beer. I do enjoy it. It's about 1 ounce total of hops, like I mentioned, and comes through a nice, clean, easy drinking beer. That's pretty much all the detail I'm gonna go into it on right now. Just one more little sip maybe. And as you can see, the head does kind of cascade down the side. I did pour this about 15 or 20 minutes ago, so it is there a little bit still, so that's a good thing. Set that down. And what you notice here is I do have 3 glasses, and I'm gonna try different levels of maple syrup in the glasses to see what it tastes like if it actually had the maples taste. I forgot to mention, but this does not have the maple taste to it. When you taste it, no maple. I guess that's how you describe no maple taste. But what I want to do is try adding some maple syrup to it to see if Galaxy Maple Wheat is a good beer to have, or if it's just some sort of unbalanced mayhem. We'll find out. What I have is 3 different dollar store teaspoons. I'm going with 1 teaspoon, a half teaspoon, and a quarter teaspoon. So the quarter teaspoon would be like adding about pretty close to 100 milliliters for the keg. A half teaspoon, 200 milliliters, and you'll never guess it, a full teaspoon, about 400 milliliters. So good amount of maple would be added. Hopefully it'll come through. Hopefully it's not too low of amount, but let's get to the tasting. First thing I'm gonna do is add the quarter teaspoon. This is a very exciting part where you watch me pour something. There's a quarter teaspoon or a little bit more. Let's stir that in. Make sure all the good syrupy goodness is in there. Okay, that's good. Let's go with a half teaspoon. Dump that in there. This is a nice thick syrup that I boiled down. It is quite delicious. I will maybe try a sample of this later, but just want to make sure it gets all mixed in there, nice and tasty. And we will go with the 1 teaspoon. Very accurate as to how much I'm putting in here. Definitely worried about exact amounts. Give that a little stir, adds a little bit of head to there. Damn, she's looking like good beer. So once those are all in there, we will mix up the glasses so I don't know which one I'm tasting. And now that I think of it, I kind of forgot my senses are a little bit off. Again, COVID. Just a hint though. So I might as well bring in my secret weapon. My wife Marianne, she's going to be giving a little bit of a taste to see exactly what it's like. But first I might as well give her a little bit of the real beer and see how that goes. Poured from a pitcher, nice and frothy. Might have lost its carbonation, but let me know what you think, Marianne.
Galaxy maple?
Galaxy maple.
Tastes like a dirty blonde.
Dirty blonde.
A bitter blonde.
Bitter blonde.
Tastes like beer.
Tastes like beer. That's a very good description.
I taste no maple.
Nice, nice. And
Now I go for these.
yeah, go for these ones. Let's see. That one, have a shot. Tell me what you think.
Tastes the same.
Tastes the same, okay? Try that one.
Smells the same. It's delicious. It also tastes the same.
Okay, let's try the third one.
There's not much difference between those beers.
Okay, let's try to add some more. You close your eyes and I'll add some more to this. Let's see. Let's add one more teaspoon.
I think the middle one maybe is the sweetest. Maybe. Is that party time maple syrup?
That is party time maple syrup. Thank you for asking. Try the middle one again.
It's better.
Better? Is it too much maple, not enough maple, or you still can't really taste the maple?
It's the perfect amount of maple.
Perfect amount of maple. Okay, now I'm gonna go in for a quick test myself. I'd mix them up, but I already kind of know the answer. Let's, yeah, I'd go with you can't taste the maple on that one. I believe this was the 1/4 teaspoon, and you probably won't be able to taste the maple on this. Not gonna lie, it might be a tiny bit sweeter. Let me taste it with the other one.
Oh, I think that.
Yeah, can't really taste it. This is the 2 teaspoon one now. Although as I can see there, it's kind of formed a little layer on the bottom, so I may try to stir that up. There's a possibility that the maple syrup just sunk to the bottom in this. So it may need some time to mix in, or you may want to put it in or warm it up before you put it in or something like that and see if it will mix better. But yeah, it just drops to the bottom. So that could be the problem. No doubt about it, that one tastes like drinking pure maple syrup.
Really?
You have COVID.
Oh, it's sweet.
Yeah.
I think it's better without the sweet.
Yeah, that's so. 2 teaspoons is definitely way too much sweet for these, and I'm just gonna try to mix this other one up. See, this would have been the 1/2 teaspoon. I'm just gonna see if it's mixed in, if it has a little bit of taste there.
Tastes like a breakfast beer.
So yeah, I didn't get that's even with the 1/2 teaspoon, you don't get too much, and 2 teaspoons is definitely too much. So what I'd recommend, based on not trying it, would be the 1 teaspoon amount in 4 ounces, which is equivalent to maybe 400 or 500 milliliters per keg, which would be approximately 1 small maple syrup bottle per keg. Really interested in the comments below if you tried maple syrup beer or added maple syrup to beer, if what you found is the right amount to use on that. Personally, this beer, I think it's a little bit too bitter for using the maple syrup in. So it's really more the hops you're tasting. I should have dialed it down a lot on the hops, so maybe it would have only been about 7 grams for the bittering, and then maybe not even anything else, just a little bit of the bittering, and then tried to taste more malty flavor in there, or used, like I mentioned, maybe
maybe like a noble hop, or even just use a small amount of Magnum for the bittering, and just enjoy a little bit more malty flavor with the syrup, which would probably go better with the syrup than bitter. So with that said, guess we gotta drink up. Which one are you?
Not this one.
Okay, I'll get the sweet one. You got that one. I'll get these ones. Okay.
Party time!
Party time. Too sweet. Can't taste it.
Oh god, I can't do that.
I'll drink that later. So, thanks for watching. If you haven't done so already, why not subscribe? And if you want to see a different video, maybe check out this one right here. We'll talk to you later. Oh wait, I gotta leave.